Hi, welcome to Global Village TV. At Global Village TV, we engage our viewers with some of the day-to-day issues affecting the global village. We stand up against human rights abuses, social injustice, environmental pollution, child abuse, abject poverty, and many more. We have something for viewers of all ages, children, the youth, adults, young and old. So stay tuned in and don't go anywhere.
Hello, I'm Michelle Ward from Brook Language Services, and I'm here with Dr Robert Peprah-Gyamfi.
Hello.
You are a doctor, evangelist preacher, and an author. Why did you become a doctor?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. When I was growing up in my little village, I saw so much suffering. People get bitten by snakes, who had to die before they reach hospitals, mothers who have to deliver children, and there was no means of transportation, and some of them passed away. So a lot of suffering. So, and then eventually I had my own problem with my left ankle, which I underwent a lot of horrendous medical treatment. So all this built up in me and said, oh, I want to become a doctor, just not only to understand my own condition, but also to help others.
And that's all covered in your wonderful book, Disability Nightmare, that's going to be published very shortly and available on your website and through all good booksellers, yeah. Amazon as well. So did you start training to become a doctor in Ghana?
Yeah, okay, I just have to go back to my academic journey again. So from the little village, eventually I gained scholarship to go and study in a boarding school. Because at that time, schools were not, the government had not managed to build secondary schools all over the places. So they were in district capitals. And they give good students scholarship to go there and then study. So I got a scholarship and I went to our district capital called Achim Oda. That's where I did my GCE O-level. And from there, I moved on to another school called Infant Stream in Cape Coast to do my A-levels. And I was confident of getting admission in Ghana. But at that time, there were only 2 medical schools in Ghana and they were offering together not more than 60 places. Yeah. So, and normally, my grades were good, but without the contacts to the top, I was not selected. So I was very disappointed. Then I met a friend of mine who told me he could help me go to the Soviet Union. I want to explain the background. It was in the 70s, during the Cold War. So the Soviet bloc countries offered scholarships to developing students from developing countries with the background hope that when they come there, they will be sympathetic to their system. So somebody told me, a friend of mine told me that he could help me get one of the Soviet scholarships to go and study in the Soviet Union. So I went for interview. Initially, I was selected. I was so happy about this new development. Then one day, about 2 or 3 weeks later, news came to us that some of the candidates, the names of some of them have been eliminated. So we went for a meeting, and unfortunately, my name was eliminated. And the reason that the person gave to me was that when I came for the interview, I was limping he saw me limping. And he said he himself has gone to study in the Soviet Union. So he said it's very bitter cold. So he was his judgment was that if I get a chance to go there, in the winter things will get worse. So it's better I don't go. So my name was eliminated. I was so disappointed.
So did you give up on your hope to become a doctor at that point?
No, I didn't give up. Okay. The University of Ghana offered me admission to study chemistry or chemistry, general science, so that I become a teacher. But that was not my aim or my goal. So at that time, I met a Christian friend in our church, and she said her sister-in-law, his husband was married to a German lady, and the sister-in-law had a great affection for her, so she was trying to help her to go to Germany. And eventually she made it to Germany. So she and her husband told me that in German universities you don't pay for tuition. The only way I need to get there, and if I get to Germany, they will help me initially, and if I get admission, then I could become a doctor, hopefully. But I didn't have money even to buy the ticket. So eventually, I ended up going to Nigeria.
Why did you go to Nigeria?
That is a good question. Nigeria is an oil-producing country, and during the oil crisis of 1979, I think the price of petrol shot up. So Nigeria benefited from this. It was a booming economy. So it did a lot of projects, and they introduced free education in Nigeria. And because Nigeria and Ghana were former British colonies, I just want to give a little bit of geography of West Africa. So this is Ghana, and this is Togo, that's Benin, and that's Nigeria. So moving to the east, moving to the east. So a lot of teachers had left Ghana to go to Nigeria because they were looking for teachers. So I decided. I met a friend who was also going there. So together we left Accra with the aim of working there to get the means to buy the ticket to go to Germany.
So you went to Nigeria and you worked as a teacher?
Initially, I worked at construction sites. I did bone-breaking job because, the prospect was to get appointment, but in the first 6 weeks before I got appointment, I worked as a construction assistant. And I was very concerned. My leg, because my left ankle was still not healthy, but somehow I managed to go through. And then eventually I got an appointment in a school in Nigeria, the town called Shagamu, and it has a very interesting name. It's called Muslim High School. Okay, it was secular, but I think the owner of the school was a Muslim, so he named it Muslim High School, but the government had taken over. So the staff was international. There were Nigerians, Ghanaians, Indians, Pakistani. It was a very interesting place. So after staying there almost 18 months, I earned enough money to buy my ticket to Germany.
Whereabout in Germany did you go?
It's a good question again. Everything is also in my book called The Call That Changed My Life. The Call That Changed My Life. For a donation of £10 or $10 for the Good Shepherd Homes Project, one can order a free copy. I'll send a free copy. So everything is documented. During those days, Berlin was divided into two, East and West, as following the Second World War. And West Berlin was like a capitalist enclave in East Germany. The whole of Germany was divided into two, but the capital Berlin was also divided into two. So what happened was that the East German authorities gave transit visas for whoever wanted to come to West Germany. So when you get to East Berlin, they move on to West Berlin. Maybe it sounds a bit complex.
They should read the book and you can find out all about it.
So when I got to West Berlin, to be able to stay there, I have to seek for political asylum, so I have to regularize my stay. But my aim was to study medicine. So I didn't even have money to go to German school. So I bought a book called German for Beginners. It's good for people English-speaking people who want to study the German language, because every sentence in English was translated into German. If I say, "Hello, how are you doing today?" down below it will be in German. So I bought it and I was going through it, and then eventually, as I was also, because I had a problem with my left ankle, eventually I ended up in hospital. I was in hospital for almost 5 months. And during that time, I forced myself to study German. The nurses wanted to address me in English. I said, no, I do so in German. So it helped me to study the German language. And then I applied to various universities, and the chances were not good. People said maybe 1% chance of getting admission, but eventually I got admission at Hanover Medical School. So
when did you start training as a doctor?
Okay, that was 1984. So,
how long did it take?
Okay, basically, in all, it took me 8 years.
8 years?
Yes, to study the basic medicine and then specialize. Yeah.
What did you specialize in?
In general medicine, general practice. We say GP. I studied the German language. It was very interesting. At that time, I think I was the only African within a class of about 300 students. Yeah, there were some friends from Sri Lanka, Asia, and other places, but mostly Germans. But yeah.
So you decided to come to England. Were your German medical qualifications recognised?
Yeah, it was recognised. Okay, when I finished my training, I worked as a GP in Düsseldorf. The interesting thing about working because the system is that, okay, I think here in the UK, you have to go to the doctor in your catchment area. In German system, you can choose your own GP. I think that was the situation when I was there. So when there were a lot of Africans, Ghanaians in Düsseldorf and around. So when they heard that a doctor from Ghana has got his own surgery, eventually it became like a Ghana practice. If you go there, Ghanaians, it was very interesting. It was Ghanaians, Nigerians. Of course, I had some German patients, but mostly were African patients. And at that time, some of my colleagues were coming to the UK to work at the weekends. They came only at the weekend. I think there was a change of policy, so out of our service, and so I also decided to come. So I was coming only during the weekends. I leave Germany Friday night and then return Sunday evening.
Gosh.
So yes, then I did it for about 6 months. So eventually, we decided to move to the UK. That was 2006.
You say we? Who did you bring
Okay,
with
my
you?
wife and our 3 children. Yeah.
3 children.
Yeah.
And they were German speaking? Did they speak English?
Yeah, they were all born in Hanover. It's very interesting. I said that I went to medical school in Hanover. So just one of my sisters was visiting me, and through my sister I also got to know my wife. So I always say that you have to travel all the way from Ghana to meet at the Hanover railway station. So that's how the story is. All our 3 children were born in Hanover.
So you came to England.
Yes.
And you work as a doctor, as a GP in England. What differences do you notice between Germany and England, or Ghana and England?
You know, I'm trying to write a book. You know, that's why I call myself citizen of the global village. So I'm trying to write one world, 3 medical healthcare services. So the Ghana one, I have experience as a patient and as a doctor. But I work there I went to do electives. So I've known the Ghana system both as a patient and as a provider. I've known the German system both as a patient and as a provider. I've known the UK system mostly as a provider, but my wife was also a patient. So
you've done everything.
I know everything. So that's it. But in the nutshell, I must say that somehow, because the German system, they have to pay insurance. There's an insurance system. So, for example, if you are working, you pay a percentage of your salary into the system, and your employers also pay a percentage. Mm-hmm. So it's not tax funded. Okay, those who are not working are taken over by the state. But it looks as if they have more funds in the system compared to the UK system. So there's nothing like waiting list. Yes. For example, when at the time my wife was pregnant with, he could choose which hospital. He had to go around looking for. There were a lot of opportunity to choose from. Yeah. So apart from that, as far as the professional level is concerned, I don't see any difference. But it's the access that I think is Germany have quicker access to specialists than here in the UK.
So you've experienced the tribal medicine and herbal medicine in Ghana, the quick access to the German system, and now the NHS system in Britain.
And in Ghana, I didn't experience only the traditional. I also experienced Western school medicine, also in Ghana. As I said, when I went to hospital and I went to Kolebu to get the injections, and so I've experienced a lot, both the traditional and the school medicine in Ghana. I've experienced the school medicine in Germany and then the UK. So my head is exploding, so I have to write everything before it gets exploded.
So with your exploding head, you've become a doctor in all these different countries you've been to. And then you've become an evangelist preacher, a Christian in this country. You first became a Christian in Ghana, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes. And then when did you train to be a preacher?
Okay, it's just online. You know, I think I got the inspiration reading my books, reading several books from the Bible and also online. And my plan is I'm going to set up a ministry that I call Christ for Post-Christian Europe. Mm-hmm. Because Europe has become, it's generally said that Europe is post-Christian. And of course, Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So if a society is calling itself post-Christian, then you have to ask questions, what is wrong with that society? And over the last 40 years I've been in Europe, I've spoken to a lot of people, so I'm coming up with a book. So, because Europeans introduced Christianity to us, so I found my role as somebody coming on a return journey to the ancestors of the missionaries who came to preach to us. I owe them a debt of gratitude to spread the Christianity to Europeans. I think one thing is that, to be in the nutshell, that European mentality, the mindset is too sophisticated. They ask too many questions. Jesus said you have to tend to be like a child. But you know, the European mindset wants always answers, rational thinking. These are the two things that is the main conflict, I think. That's preventing the spread of Christianity. Because you cannot understand God with your mind. That is how I see it.
So it's come full circle, really. So Europeans went to Africa preaching Christianity,
yes.
And now you've come to Europe, you're preaching Christianity,
yes.
And you've written lots and lots of Christian and self-help books. I have a list here of several of them. So Jesus the Doctor Who Knows No Bounds. What's that one all about?
You know, I have studied medicine. In the human medicine that you are doing, you have to examine the patient, take the history, do investigation here and there. But Dr. Jesus is a doctor who does not need to go through all these things. He just says the word and healing is manifested. There's no need for history, there's no need for diagnostic, there's nothing, and Dr. Jesus says it happens. So that is, I've taken instances in the Bible where Jesus did his healing, and I say that if the patient had come to me as a human being, this is what I would have done, blah 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 blah. But now I compare myself as a human doctor and what Dr. Jesus would do. So that is the book, Dr. Jesus, the Doctor Who Knows No Bounds.
And carrying on with the medical analogy, another book is called Seeing God Through the Human Body.
Yes, you know, there are some who have problem believing in God. But in my opinion, the functioning of the human body alone should lead people to know that it could not have come about out of chance. You see the point? So I take various organs of the body. For example, the liver. The liver is one of the most sophisticated factories on earth. It carries out a lot of functions. And it's so complex a bird. So complex. How could that have happened out of chance? And even the eye, the way the eye functions. So that's what this book is about. I take organ to organ, and based on how it functions, I argue that there's a designer, Almighty God, is behind all these things.
Your faith is coming through everything that you say and you write.
Yes.
And another book is Be Encouraged in Jesus.
Yeah, there are hymns and poems of inspiration. I've also gone through a lot of challenges. But the Lord has seen me through. So based on my own experiences, I try to build people up. Because as a doctor, there was a case when I still have it in mind. There was a young girl in Germany. Her parents were pastors. I had liver failure and she needed liver transplant. So our Christian ministry went to visit her. And the fate of that girl who was very, very severely ill. She was so confident, she was radiating a lot of joy. That inspired me a lot. So that we face problems and challenges, it's important to build each other up. So that girl, in her situation, it built me up. So whenever I'm in problem, I remember the smile in her face, despite the challenges she was facing. So it's up to us to encourage one another. That's the aim of that book.
And another one is Christian Soldiers' Battle Cry.
Yes, it's also similar. It's also words of inspiration, verses of inspiration to motivate Christians in their daily life.
And they're following on from that. This is the Day, which is a daily devotional book, isn't it? For every day.
Yeah, for every day. Initially, it was I wrote for 6 months. So I have a Facebook page where I upload one meditation on a daily basis. But now I've gone through. I've done 366 for the whole year, and I hope to publish it by the end of the year.
So all your books we can find more about on your website. www.peprah-gyamfi.org. We can send an email to you. All the details are on there. So what plans do you have for the future? You've become a doctor through all your challenges, which you can read about in Disability Nightmare and the other books. You've become a preacher. You've written all the Christian, the self-help books. What else is there to do?
Yeah, okay. What I want to do, because I call myself a citizen of the global village. So I will be living in Germany, UK, Ghana. My plan is to preach Christ to the rich Europeans, ask them to donate to help the poor Africans, and also I also have to educate the Africans, because I think some of them think that just pray. If you have problems, God has given us the brain to solve the problems. So I don't go to God with small issues. That there are certain things I can do on my own. You see the point? That is one thing that I think is a challenge to the African mindset. Some of the African Christians, they think if you have a problem, just pray. Don't do anything. You have to work hard. So that is what the insight I've gained. The Europeans think they can use their own intelligence to solve all their problems, and they need the spiritual aspect of our existence somewhere else. They don't. But the Africans think they can leave everything to God, and then problems that they can solve themselves, they don't solve. So you have to find a middle way between the two. So that is, I think, that is what I'll be doing. I'll be doing talkings and preaching and speaking and educating Africans to work hard and try to use the resources God has given us to better our lives on it.
And you want to better the lives of the disabled in
Yes,
Ghana,
yes,
don't you?
yes,
How are you
yes.
going to do that? How do you want to do that?
Yeah, that is in the first place. I will set up these homes. These are Good Shepherd home for the disabled. Eventually, depending on the resource I get, you have to also consider their health care. Not only the health care needs of the disabled, but there are a lot of people who are impoverished. They cannot afford the health care costs. I got a call recently from one of my nieces. She's suffering bleeding. She has been bleeding. From what she's describing, she knows she has to go to a gynecologist for proper examination and therapy, but money. Then you have the money. So if you don't help her, so this you have to target these people. Of course, you cannot solve all the problems, but you can do everything that within our means to do to help them.
So, can you tell me more about the Good Shepherd homes for the disabled?
Yeah, okay. It's the first plot of land that we acquired is in a town called Nsawam near Accra. I would say near Accra, so that it's easier to say
where
that.
Accra,
Yeah, very near Accra. Yeah. So initially, we have got plans to build 20 blocks of accommodation to take a minimum of 20 inmates, and we have a lot of land available to use also for training purposes. Yeah, like teach them skills or do some farming, what they can do to keep them active.
So keep them independent, earning their own livings in a nice, safe, secure place. And you hope to open a few more of these centres in the future.
Yes, that's the hope.
How are you going to get the funding for this?
Yeah, I'm appealing to the global village. The plan is to do a day of national global day of donation, fundraising ceremony activities that will be done before Christmas. The plan is to do a day of fundraising for this charitable cause, and eventually you also have to write letters to various organizations, donors, to solicit their aid. So
proceeds from your books will be going towards the Good Shepherd homes. You have your book club where people you have 10 recommended books of that you have written that people can donate a minimum of £10 to get a free copy of one of the books.
Yeah.
You're also asking for sponsorship from companies and people to give their own donations and volunteer their own time.
Yes.
And materials maybe from their jobs that they have at home. So more information on this will be on the website, and we can send you an email to find out any more information that we want. Is that true?
Yes. Eventually you issue a newsletter. So that those who register for the newsletter, we keep them informed about progress on the project.
It sounds absolutely fascinating. Is there anything else you would wish to add to this?
I believe that I'm a citizen of the global village, and a lot of people who have the means to help. Let us help those who are in need. So I want to assure you that whatever you give will be used for the purpose intended. So please help us. If you are not in a position to do so, you can spread the news. Spread the news to those who are in a position to be of help. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Robert. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to Global Village TV. At Global Village TV, we engage our viewers with some of the day-to-day issues affecting the global village. We stand up against human rights abuses, social injustice, environmental pollution, child abuse, abject poverty, and many more. We have something for viewers of all ages, children, the youth, adults, young and old. So stay tuned in and don't go anywhere.